All right, so this is going to be a review of The Woman King. It's directed by Gina Prince Bywood, starring Viola Davis. There's kind of a controversy around it. I'll touch on that a little bit because I don't think you could go without touching on it if you knew about it, because it's something that needs to be at least touched on. Um, but yeah, I'll do that later, and I'll say how I feel about it. So this tribe, the Hami, this is in the 1800s. Um, they're attacked by this other tribe that they've had peace with for a little bit. I don't remember what that tribe is called, the Owe or Owo or something like that. And their main, leader or general is the one that's really going after them. So this tribe has this group of warriors. They also have male warriors, but they have this group of warriors that are really important. I forgot what they were called, but it's led by Viola Davis's character Naniska, and so they are gonna take on this other tribe to protect their tribe, because even though their tribe also deals with slavers, sells people into essentially the slave trade and all that. uh, the other tribe, they're afraid that if they lose to them, they'll also sell them into slavery too. So that it's also about protecting not only their lives but also their freedom. So there's some good stuff here, enough for me to still be slightly positive or slightly mostly positive. Viola Davis gives an amazing performance, but also Thuso Betty, who plays Nawi. She's the young girl. She was going to be given to this guy for this marriage by her father, but she ends up becoming a warrior instead. So she's training. Most of the movie is montages of her training and things. And I thought that actress was really good. I thought her and Viola Davis probably gave the best performances. Lashana Lynch plays as Ogi. She's also really great. Sheila Atim plays Amenza, also good performance. And they're like the main characters that you focus on in the movie, but in that tribe really too. And they're great, and they have good interactions with each other. There's kind of a touching relationship with Lashana Lynch's character and Thuso Betty, Nawi, and Izogi. And that goes into something else that happens later on that I actually did have some impact. The action is well done, but still, it's not as violent as it should be. Like a lot of times, the editing kind of cuts around certain things, or something like they'll throw someone on the ground, stab them, and the person is outside of the shot, so you don't actually see the spear going in them and things like that. There's points where they cut people, and it feels like they just gotta hit them with a sword. But either way, it's shot well, it's choreographed well, and the actresses all did their own stunts. They, got in shape and learned how to fight for it, and they do a great job. There are some interesting little subplots in here too. There's this other character, Malik, played by Jordan Bulger. He's also part of a pointless romance, but he is his mom was captured, and she used to be in the Dahomey tribe. So he's coming back there to see that tribe because his mother just died, and she wanted him to go see it. I thought that was interesting. I don't think they go far enough with it, but I thought that was interesting. There's also this idea of whether the Dahomey should still be, dealing in slaves and enslaving, African people, or if they should just become farmers, because they do have this other thing that they could potentially use to still support themselves even without, dealing with the Europeans and things. That's also interesting. Unfortunately, though, this movie's not written all that well, and so a lot of that falls kind of flat. The structure and the pacing, it's not very good. A lot of it, especially the beginning part, is dealing with Nawi training. It's just training montages, and it's to the point where I actually forgot about the conflict of the plot at a certain point, because there's a lot of them just kind of standing around. It's like they needed a storyline, and they needed something to do to fill time up until the actual war with this other tribe. So we have all this other stuff. Viola Davis is trying to convince the king that they should be farmers instead. You got the mixed character, and he's in a romance with the Nawi character, the character that's training to be part of the warrior women group. There's so much. The whole idea of the woman king, Aniska Viola Davis, is potentially going to be chosen to be this other king. It's a woman king and there's the actual king, and so man, woman, equal, and things like that. I don't know if it was like that back then. It probably wasn't, but they're doing that here, which could be interesting once again. But it turns out to be nothing. They don't even really mention anybody being chosen for the woman king until a little bit later on. But the wife, the main wife of the king, played by John Boyega, we'll get back to him. She's also doing her little thing because she wants to be crowned the woman king. Uh, I mean, she thinks she's in Game of Thrones. She's kind of doing little things behind the scenes to try to get that seat. And there's just so much going on that you don't really have enough time to really develop those other little subplots that you got going on. So you should have just focused on this war with this tribe, and also done the Nawi training thing, and cut the rest out. There's also Nawi was an orphan, turned out to be an orphan, and there's some things there that get revealed. There's too much. So then there's not enough impact. The mixed character, whose mom was captured and all that, you know, yeah, they gave the general backstory of him, but what is he doing there? His friend is clearly a slaver and is there to buy slaves and things like that. At a certain point, he's like, "Well, be lucky you're not up there." I was like, "Why is he even with this guy? Is he working with him, working for him? Is he, what is it? What's going to happen? By what happens at the end of this movie? What's he going to do when he gets back? Even, what's going on in his actual life? What is he doing there other than just visiting? I don't know, but because they don't really have enough time to fully develop that. I already mentioned the pacing. I mean, it's an over 2 hour movie, and it's just got so much going on that it just, it starts to drag because a lot of those things aren't very impactful. So there's that, but also the tone. The movie is so sanitized at certain points. It feels like a Disney movie, like in the very beginning with Nawi and her friend before she joins the group or whatever. Before her father tries to give her to this other guy, with the music and things like that, you could trick me into thinking it was a Disney film. It even kind of feels like the beginning of Lion King with Simba and Nala running around. Kind of felt like that, and then so you're dealing with very serious subject matter, so it doesn't really fit. Like the tone goes from comedy to the comedy that feels like it belongs almost in a sitcom, like it belongs like it should have a laugh track after it. You go from that to a really powerful moment, with Viola Davis kicking over a barrel with a bunch of beheaded heads in it. It's kind of all over the place in that way. John Boyega, uh, you know, physically, he has the presence of this African king. I'm thinking, okay, it's working. And then, he opens his mouth and he can't really do the accent very well. He already can't really do an American accent all that well. It's very nasally, but with this accent, he's very much struggling. The minute he opens his mouth, it's not believable. I'm like, this is an actor putting on a performance, and that's it. So there's that. I think this is his worst performance, to be honest with you. As far as the controversy, obviously this tribe originally enslaved other Africans and things like that. They sanitize it in here to make them still the good guys, where they only do it with people they captured that tried to attack them or things like that. And mostly they did that under the old king, which was John Boyega in this movie's his brother that used to be the king, and then he usurped him. So they go out of their way to try to skirt around it. And with the movie already feeling so sanitized, it really doesn't help that they do that too. It's to the point where they might as well have just scrapped this movie completely, because if you're not going to actually do anything with it, if you're not going to make this movie amazing, why even touch it? It really does feel like somebody was like, well, it's a tribe of African women warriors, and somebody went greenlit. That's what it feels like, and then it falls flat in the writing and things like that. So I thought I would at least touch on that, because I do see this as being potentially um, offensive to some people, because it gets to the point where they glorify these people to the point where they might as well have been the heroes of people who are going to be enslaved by the end. And it's like, well, that's clearly not what was really going on with this tribe, at least from what I've heard. And that's why people have kind of boycotted the film. I think some people have boycotted it. Anyway, I think there's enough good things here. The action, Viola Davis's performance, some of the powerful moments between the main people in the cast, that I will still give it a good enough. I'll still give it at least a somewhat positive review. And it's kind of weak in the writing. And if you're gonna do this, if you're gonna take this big of a swing with this, you know, showing these slavers, African slavers, in such a light like this, make it triumphant as them being warriors fighting for their freedom and their tribe. You should have done a little bit more than this to justify it. But anyway, that's the Woman King, and we're done.